So a couple days ago, whilst I was scrolling through Amazon, I came across a £7.50 mouse mat that has RGB LED lights all over it. So I'm like, I have to buy this thing. £7.50 for an RGB mouse mat? The Razer ones that I use in my setup cost like £60. I wonder what kind of mouse mat we're gonna get that has RGB lighting for £7.50. Like, this thing is cheap as hell. How bad is it, or how good is it? Is this worth your money? Definitely kind of a random video from some random company, not sponsored at all. I just bought some very cheap mouse mat that has RGB lighting so I can make a video about it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and unbox this thing and take a look at what we're dealing with here. So first of all, braided cable. Apart from that though, there's very few bits of content. We have a user manual that basically tells you how to change the lighting effects and everything, but I'm sure it's going to be pretty easy to figure out. In terms of packaging, the mouse mat comes wrapped in a bit of plastic, which I'm not complaining about. It's not a bad way to package it, pretty good. It actually does seem like a pretty decent mouse mat. Okay, so I'm not the biggest fan of their logo. It's pretty damn big, and I'm not the biggest fan of the fact that there's, you know, blue and yellow colors here. Ideally, their logo should have really been like black and white or something. Regardless though, you know, it is what it is. That's fine. This mouse mat does come with a braided cable, so that's kind of good. And the actual quality of the cable, you know, it's not too bad. It's like your average, pretty good quality braided cable. So far, so good actually. But the reviews I read on this product online, oh dear. One of them said that this is basically like false advertising and this mouse mat doesn't actually offer like very good lighting effects whatsoever, and it's just a load of lies almost. So it is actually powered by a standard micro USB cable, which we shall now plug in and then plug this cable into the laptop beside us here. Now, I actually thought this mouse mat was going to be significantly smaller than it is. For some strange reason, I just kind of thought that it was just going to be like a miniature size extended mouse mat, but it's actually like not too bad, although I kind of see the problems when it comes to lighting. All right, I've gone ahead and built myself a little makeshift gaming setup here using this mouse mat. So we got the Acer Predator Triton 500 laptop, Razer Basilisk X mouse, and then this rather strange Coviti RGB mouse mat that we have here. Now, as with most extended mouse mats, when you first unbox it, it's kind of gonna have some waves and stuff, and it's not gonna be lying completely flat. But over time, I'm sure that this will kind of flatten out and actually look, you know, like a normal flat mouse mat, like they should be. In terms of actual dimensions, you could definitely fit a laptop and have an enormous amount of space left for your mouse movement. However, if you do actually have a keyboard that you can use for this mouse mat, you can very much fit a very big keyboard on here. This is the Logitech G915. It's a wireless keyboard, but it does come with, of course, all the numpad keys as well as additional macro keys. So this is definitely one of the wider keyboards out there, but as you can see, in terms of like space, you definitely still have a decent amount of space left for mouse movement. So, you know, it's not too bad in terms of being an actual mouse mat that you can use for your keyboard and mouse. Like, it works as an extended mouse mat. However, in terms of RGB lighting on this mouse mat, it's not the best thing on earth, but I wouldn't actually say it's terrible. But when it comes to actually changing the lighting effects of the mouse mat, it's very easy. There's just one button right there that you press and it will just switch to a different color for you. In terms of the actual brightness of the LEDs, you can probably tell how bright they are. Now, they're really not that bright. Like you can see here, this is where it's actually lighting up on the bend. However, all of this area is extremely dim. The same with this part here. It's very bright up until around this point where it becomes rather dim to the point where you don't even know if there's anything lighting up. And then as we get around this corner again, wow, as you can see, oh, is that a little bit of LED lighting shining through? And as we get to this part of the mouse mat, you know, light has traveled all the way from there and there, and it really is extremely dim over here. But then once again, there's kind of a brighter spot here, and somehow this whole bottom part of the mouse mat is lighting up a decent amount. Like you can just kind of barely see it there, and over there in the corner again, you know, it's lighting up. So in terms of RGB lighting, it's not very bright. On top of all that, there's definitely a bit of false advertising going on with this mouse mat company. If you look at their Amazon product page, link in the description down below of course, on their product page, I'll put a screenshot right here as well for you, they've listed it to be a rainbow RGB mouse mat. specifically stating the fact that this mouse mat's capable of achieving like rainbow lighting effects and everything. Like they actually wrote that in their product page, and one of the people in the reviews immediately called them out after buying this mouse mat and, you know, said, hey, this does not support any kind of rainbow LED lighting. Absolutely not. It's just not possible. They do also offer a few effects that, you know, involve breathing modes and are a bit more advanced. So here we have like a breathing mode, but as you can see, no kind of RGB wave effects are happening. It's just not possible on this mouse mat. I bet you at nighttime this wouldn't actually look too bad, apart from there being, you know, some very obvious like bright spots. Apart from the rather bad LED lighting implementation on this thing, it's actually like not a bad mouse mat. One thing I liked about it in particular is the fact that the depth on this mouse mat and the thickness of it actually adds like a layer of padding, which is actually kind of nice. Having this extra depth and padding on this mouse mat actually kind of makes it feel a little bit more high quality, bearing in mind that it does only cost £7.50. I'm gonna try find the link for like the US as well, but in the UK especially, this mouse mat is like dirt cheap from this random company. But in terms of it being an actual mouse mat and, you know, you using it as just a normal mouse mat, regardless of the fact that it has a bit of RGB lighting in here, it's actually like pretty decent. It's definitely a pretty smooth surface for your mouse to glide on. The only problem with this mouse mat though is of course the rather terrible RGB lighting implementation. However, this is a very, very cheap mouse mat. And to be honest, for £7.50, this thing ain't bad. Like, really, this mouse mat as a whole, as a mouse mat, really isn't too bad. And I probably would go as far to say as like, hey, you know, if you are looking for a very cheap mouse mat, you could maybe look at this as one of your options, because it is kind of cool. You know, you still get a bit of RGB lighting. It's just not going to be as bright as you want. And bear in mind, no rainbow wave effects are included or are possible on this style of mouse mat, at least not today. There's not a single crazy RGB lighting effect that this thing can do, but at least it does have a few static effects. So you could set the entire thing to the color white, or perhaps keep it on the mode that I have on right now. It appears to be just like a simple color cycle mode that slowly, very, very slowly cycles through a bunch of colors for you. Apart from that, guys, I'm gonna get going. If you wanna go buy this mouse mat, link in the description down below, of course, to where you can buy it on Amazon. But it's actually not too bad. Surprisingly enough, I kind of thought this mouse mat was just gonna be a complete joke and I'm just gonna end up like roasting it the entire time. But to my surprise, it's actually not too bad.